PrepInYourStep.com, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a how I study for tests, plus some test taking tips of how I make my study guides and make sure that I really know the information. And so I'm excited to be sharing that with y'all because a lot of y'all have been curious. So I had my first test of the semester last Friday in my movement in the classroom class, so I think it went well. It was so much information, fingers crossed that I did well, but I have midterms this upcoming week, so if any of y'all are struggling through those with me, then I know your pain, and so I'm studying currently for those, but this is my study break making this video for y'all. So this is just going to be like what works for me. There are different things for different people, especially if we have different types of learning styles, so I'm just going to tell y'all what I do when preparing, and I don't like studying the night before. I like to kind of plan out. So I have a midterm on Wednesday and a midterm on Friday, and my test last week was on a Friday, and I started studying that Tuesday before was when I'd really gotten into my studying. So I really need a lot of time to prepare for tests. Some people don't, but that's why it seems like there's a lot in this. I'm not doing it the night before. I'm doing it gradually before the test. My first tip, aside from going through and doing what I told y'all in my highlighting and note-taking tips, which was going through and highlighting your notes after you've written them out, but my first tip would be to type up your notes. I just am such a perfectionist that I like my notes to be super organized. So these are for my religion midterm. These are my notes, and I'm typing them currently, and I just type them kind of exactly like they are. I don't leave anything out unless it's a diagram, in which case then I'll go back and draw that in by hand because I'm not going to put the diagram on the computer, and so I just type out all of this. And that's my great first reintroduction to all of the material. So I've taken it by hand first, which is a great way to start getting it into your brain, and then just the repetition of the note-taking is really important to me when I'm studying, so I do just type them out and then I'll print out that Word document, which leads me to my next tip, which is compare your typed notes with your handwritten notes. So you'd think if you just have everything here and you're putting everything on your computer that you wouldn't miss anything, but you would hate to miss something super important. So just kind of compare, make sure everything lines up correctly, and then I go into making notes onto my typed notes. So I have all of my stuff for my first test in my movement in the classroom class in here, which that seems like so much, and it was so much information. So I'll just show you all how I've taken notes onto my typed notes. So here they are. So this is just, it's 14 pages is how many notes that we had taken just for this first test, and then on each thing I highlighted the really important stuff, which is similar to what I've already done in my notebook, and then I took specific notes on the side. So you'll see close-up versions of this, but I think that's really important. You can circle facts, you can write out percentages, key terms. This is just a great way to kind of have it so that the things that you really need to know are standing out on the page. So then what I do is I like to make flashcards, and I've gotten to the point where I only make some flashcards on actual note cards, and I do most of mine on Quizlet, which if you don't know what Quizlet is, it is so great. They have a phone app and they have a website, and so I just go on the website and retype in different facts that I've probably written on the side and found really important, and I'll go in and type those, and then you just create your set, and it's great for all sorts of different subjects. And it's great because it's not only on note cards there, but it also has a bunch of other ways to test yourself, which is really important because I love their learn the card portion where you type in the different things, or their test yourself, and it's multiple choice and true false questions from the information that you've typed in. It's just a great way to reinforce the information, and it's also nice because on the app, if I'm walking to class, I can go through them without having the actual cards. So I know that's kind of annoying for little flashcards, they're kind of being obsolete, but I do use those for some things. But Quizlet is just my go-to when I'm making a whole bunch of flashcards, and then I don't have to worry about finding them come time for the final because they're all right there. I don't have to look through all of my drawers and find which ones go to which, so it's nice, and it's a nice way to put in the time and effort now and for the first test and the second test, and then be ready for the midterm and the final. So then what I do is I make a consolidated study guide. So y'all are probably like, oh my gosh, this girl is spending hours on this sort of thing. And in all honesty, I kind of am, but it's because it's what works for me. So my consolidated study guide for my last test just looks like this. I write in Sharpie at the top what I'm talking about. So there was a specific article that we had to know. And so I wrote read article at the top. and then just wrote out the main points. So this is where you really just get to the nitty-gritty of the information that you have to know. And so I wrote out the main points here and then highlighted like the really important facts so that those numbers are sticking in my brain. So the same thing with this, we had to know about the nervous system, and then just other articles, abstracts that I had to know. I don't really know, I did like the key things in pink and then the other ones in yellow. And I like doing my study guides on just blank copy paper. So I don't like plain notebook paper. I'd much rather have my study guides on here. So this is my whole like page of just different listing things that could be asked, which I think is great to have. And then I have another one that's like people and key facts, and then one that's percentages. So it's just whatever works for you, but this is a great way for me to, like, if I'm walking to class and studying and I've already done my Quizlet, but I want to know the key facts without having to flip through all my pages of notes, I have them right here, and so this will be great to have come with the final. Another great thing to do that I haven't mentioned is compare your notes with a friend's notes. So a bunch of my friends are in this class with me, and so she typed up her notes, and I did the same sort of thing that I did for my notes on her notes, where I highlighted and did that like same right on the side. So you never know what you're going to catch in class and a friend is going to catch in class. So if you can make friends in that class and kind of trade notes, that's a great way to make sure that you're getting all of the information that was talked about. So then obviously you have been studying this whole time by making these things, but you really need to spend time with your flashcards and your study guides to make sure that you really have the information down pat. So after you've done that and spent a good deal of time studying that, you need to have a friend quiz you if that's at all possible. So my friends and I, who are all in the same class, we sat down and we each kind of took a section of our study guides and notes, and I was like, okay, I'm going to ask these 4 things, and then we went through fact after fact there, and then a friend would ask it, and so we both answer. So it was a nice way to make sure that we really knew the information and we're staying accountable with each other for knowing the content. So if you can get a friend to quiz you, that's a great way to do it, because if you can explain the information to a friend in a way that makes sense, chances are you've learned it. Okay, so those are my tips for studying for a test and making a study guide. So I really hope they helped some of y'all out. And if y'all have any other tips that I may not have mentioned, leave them below so that you can help other people out in the comments. And be sure to check out my blog post that has all of this information. It'll be one of the first links down below, and check out my Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, all of those links.